another New York City teacher, special guest, Jim Hambel. We'll introduce him and get to his information just in a bit. But first, I wanted to update you a little bit about what Hot Tech Plus is up to and what we're going to be trying to accomplish the next few months before the school year begins. As you know, we are in the process of developing a new app. And so what we're going to be doing the next few weeks is we're going to be stopping our live broadcast. And we're going to have our team focus on preparing information that will be helpful to the usage of the new app in the group system. Our goal for the beginning of the school year is to provide all teachers, both current customers and anyone else who's interested, going to try to provide you with a solution for distance learning. And if your kids or students are not in school, we're going to provide you with a solution for tracking their activity level at home. So we're pretty excited about what we're developing here. And again, our main goal is to try to provide teachers a solution for whatever they may face next year. So that's what we're up to, and that's what we're going to be focused on the next couple of months with our team. And also, as we develop information around our group system in the app, home app, we'll be developing products that we can do online trainings with our current customers and also with new customers. So we're looking forward to a busy couple of months to prepare for the school year, just like you. So with that, I'm going to turn it over. As always, we have Chris Meckelberg from 5-Star PE and Brian Hull going to moderate the broadcast tonight. And thanks for joining us. And I'm going to turn it over to Chris. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you, Rich. And as always, thank you for all your work in the background that you do for us to get this off the ground. Like Rich said, this is our 13th episode. So if anybody is interested in what we've done in the past, feel free to check out the YouTube channel and you'll find all of our content there. Especially last week, we had 3 other New York City physical educators on. And the week before that, we really got into the new Heart Tech platform that's coming out. That's going to introduce the home aspect to it and allow the teacher to really not only use the system in a group setting in the gymnasium or outside on the field, but then allow the students to take that monitor home on their own device, download, record that data, and send it back to the teacher in real time in order for that teacher to then collect that data and report on it. So that was about 2 weeks ago. And like Rich said, this is probably going to be our last weekly broadcast. We do have some more interest for guests to come on in the middle and towards the end of the summer when we get back towards the school year. And we definitely want to have some of our past guests on too once they really have an idea of what their schools are going to look like coming back. So if anybody out there is listening, would like to come on, share their experience or expertise, please feel free to reach out to Brian or I or Rich on Twitter. And we'd love to have you on. And as we get people, if you're interested, we can always put together a broadcast in a week's notice. So don't be fearful if you'd like to come on and share. We'd love to hear your information. And now I really want to welcome Brian back. He had a nice little vacation next week. I hope you're relaxed and rejuvenated. And I know you have some more information on your school district in particular and your principals. So just enlighten us on that, Brian.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, Rich in the background. I want to echo what Chris said. Thanks for all your work in the background. And Chris, thanks for all your work facilitating these broadcasts. But yeah, it's good to be back. I have been really busy planning what next year for me specifically may look like, especially because my school is a little bit ahead in terms of what our schooling might look like once we go back. So in Denver Public Schools, we're definitely planning for a 100% return for in-person learning. Now, with that, that's going to look very, very different from what normal in-person learning looks like. So specifically, there's going to be temperature checks at the front and back entrances every morning before staff or students are allowed to walk in. Each student will be assigned a cohort or a group, and those students will be allowed only in one classroom all day, and only teachers will be allowed to enter and exit the room. So there are no passing periods in middle or high school. Students are stuck in the same classroom all day. Masks must be worn 100% of the time. Uh, Gyms and cafeterias are closed, at least specifically at my school. I know I will not have a gym. So specifically, I've been really planning on teaching health aspects in the classroom and then trying to interpret my current curriculum into ways on how I can modify it to outdoors. But one of my concerns right now is specifically to my school. It looks like students will get about 2 15-minute breaks throughout each day, and breaks may only occur outside. So I'm kind of concerned on how school-wide breaks are going to affect and hinder my PE instruction and my classes participation. So clearly, like everybody knows, there's a lot of obstacles ahead of us, and I'm up for the challenge, but I'm finding myself planning each day, and basically the next day I hear a new set of news that makes me modify what I did the day before. So it's challenging, like I said, and it's I'm really concerned about the social emotional needs of our students, especially staying in the same room all day with the same group of students. And the last thing I wanted to mention is we were told students cannot intermix grade levels. So in the past, I've taught 6th, 7th, and 8th grade in one class, whereas now it must only be a 6th grade cohort or a 7th grade cohort and so on. So there's a lot of modifications that I will be dealing with this upcoming school year.
And did you say you have 80-minute blocks that they're scheduling you for?
Yeah, and specific to my school, my principal and administration team came up with 80-minute class periods, and the school year is going to be broken down into quarters, and students will be taking 4 classes per day, one of them consisting of an elective, and then after the end of each quarter, students will be rotating electives. So I guess the silver lining here is at least I'm going to, or at least the students I'm going to be seeing, it sounds like I'll be seeing them every day for a quarter.
Now, I specifically noticed Dr. Ballard put out on Twitter, I guess Campbell University in North Carolina, maybe that she works at. They put out some of their guidelines and for teaching pre-student teachers and pre-service physical educators. And one of those guidelines in particular was during activity courses, obviously where students are learning the skill, performing the skill, and moving, that the professor would be responsible for making sure that they're monitoring the student's exertion level.
Interesting.
Yeah, and obviously the only 2 ways to do that would be some sort of step counter or a heart rate monitor. And the professors would be in charge and responsible for keeping that exertion level low, because the more vigorous the activity, the more the possibility of spread from your body could be, whether it be sweat, saliva, breathing, or whatever. So to keep that level of exercise lower while you're in person, and then obviously wanting to have those moderate to vigorous activity benefits outside of the, structured classroom. So I'm thinking if that is something that is kind of be a trickle-down effect where most, not only universities, but schools kind of have that in mind too, of where kids should not be overexerting themselves or really being vigorously active while in the building with you, then I would like to turnkey that virtually out to them and allow them the opportunity to get that level of activity over 60% of their max while at home. And that's really where the hard tech system is going to come into play for me, and allowing me to really pivot from the in-school situation right to the out-of-school situation and have students download that data right back to me. So definitely with those guidelines coming out, that's really the first I've seen in writing of where what they were trying to do as far as physically active individuals.
Yeah, that's interesting you mentioned that, Chris, because like I said before, I'm anticipating creating my classes around 40 minutes in the classroom and 40 minutes outside, only because I've been told students must wear masks even if they're outside. And again, like VO2 maxes are going to go way down if they're outside in 95-degree or higher heat with a mask on. So that's interesting. I'll have to check that out. And the last thing I wanted to mention, and Ross posed a question that said, if there are no passing periods, which my school said we can't, is your admin allowing you to use the hallways to travel outside? And Ross, I don't know. I haven't heard specific answers to that. All I heard was my principal was told that physical education can use the outdoors, but it's definitely a gray area. It's definitely contradicting information in terms of students aren't allowed in the hallways because they don't want any crossover from teacher to student or student to student. So it's interesting, and I'm anxious to hear more info.
Maybe they'll just have the students jump out the fire escapes and put some ladders up on the higher levels there, so they can just go right out.
I mean, at this point, that wouldn't be any more difficult than what we're faced with. So
that's right. Well, once again, I want to thank Jim for coming on. Jim Hambel, New York City Public School physical education teacher, also a member of the Shape America Physical Activity Council. Thanks so much for taking the time to come on with us today. And really just take this opportunity now to introduce yourself, your current role in your school, and what your school's been doing remotely, and then anything about the Shape America Physical Activity Council that you're sharing.
Sure. Well, first of all, I want to say thank you for having me. It's a great honor to be on. I saw some of my, I'm seeing in the chat, some of my fellow phys ed colleagues from New York City were here last week, and I was very inspired to kind of share, especially the physical activity council aspect of it, because I have a lot to say. And I figured I would kind of just show you via screen share how I kind of tackled it. But I mean, like as I was listening to you talking about it, like, and Ross, I feel the same way. It's very frustrating to say the least because I know what I did. But I'll get into that. But no, I teach in an elementary school in the Bronx. This was my 8th year of teaching phys ed. I actually 10 overall, because I also am special ed certified, which definitely does help a bit. Regular classroom certified, not just adapted, but just classroom ed certification. And so this is those years of experience, and I've been teaching 4 years. And I'm very fortunate that we are for us it's going to be challenging because we are a shared school. We are co-located, but I'm sure. I mean, no challenge is without great reward, but I'm very fortunate that I have a really good size gym, a very big space one, so that should make. And I do have a good amount of equipment. And one thing I do have to say is that when I came to my school, students already the expectation was small groups and stations. So my students are kind of used to being one-to-one and working in smaller groups. So I think that will definitely help. But I mean, I can't really speculate, and I don't really want to speculate. Thank you. And that because I honestly don't know what's going on. But I think I think one thing I can talk about and that I can mention is that things that I have done in this remote learning, because it's been interesting challenge, because one of the biggest things was, of course, equity, internet access, and of course, just because the students have internet, isn't necessarily they're going to be able to access everything that I have and all the assignments to use Google Classroom. But I'm sure all teachers, not just physics teachers, they would put on an assignment and students would not be able to really know how to do it. So that was the biggest thing. So, and I just want to share a couple things, but I'm kind of jumping all over the place. I'm very excited to be here. But and also, because these are really great things, and you might see me tweeting a lot of mountains. Let me just take the time that I'm really just trying to share it, because during this time, like, I really wasn't. I mean, I always fancied myself being good with technology, but that really was being able to sync my MacBook up and learning from other teachers like Kevin and other physics teachers. Oh, they're here today too, and like Chris, but like he was making on YouTubes and using GIFs. I think I would say that wrong, but and that was like the extent of it. But I mean, I really kind of had to learn. So I think what's great about being Twitter now is, like, when I first graduated, I went to Delphi, and we were talking about that, how we're all both natives of Long Island. That like none of this, like the idea, the possibility of like coming on and doing something like this was like unheard of. So this is great, and So I think it's great that a lot of us, especially myself, just have an opportunity in a forum to actually like kind of explain and actually kind of share and teach to others, because that's like it made my life so much easier. And because a lot of times like I wasn't in the Google Classroom with the other teacher with the teacher classroom teacher, so that was also another obstacle. But let me focus on something positive. So if you can see this, actually I just discovered this. It's called Wakelet. So one of the cool things about Shape America is that not only I'm a member of New York City for it, but I'm also a member of Shape. And technically it's called a volunteer leader, where they have different councils that are dedicated to different things. So it's a 3-year term, and you apply. You apply actually early on. I think it's actually coming out a little bit earlier this summer. But you apply. You say what kind of like council do you want to do? So with physical activity, even though I'm a phys ed teacher, and the other people on the council are phys ed teachers as well, but like it's great because we're all across the country, even in as far out west as Arizona and New Mexico. So it just gives you different perspective. And we meet once a month like a council. We just talk about things. Like we talk about like different things like Shape has, like Health Moves Mind. We also kind of talk about like different things that we've come up with. So during this time when everyone was home, we were thinking like, what's the best thing to do for people, at least teachers and adults, that they could help them keep them from going crazy. So that's how we came up with the wellness series. And the story behind it was I went to Melanie Levenberg, who's on the Phys Ed Council, who's great, and I'm sure we all know Melanie Levenberg. I said, would you be able to do a class for us? And and she was like, definitely, yes. And this was like Memorial Day weekend. So this whole thing, the first one actually came together in like 3 days. So from that, I made this wakelet, and you could see like Danielle Abreu is actually a close friend of mine. She had her son like 6 months after my wife went up. We had our daughter. So she is very into fitness. She's actually repeat. So a lot of the people that actually have come are actually doing it again. Amanda Stallone actually works out in, I believe in Station. Get me wrong if she's hearing this, but I think it's West Station or either Station, one of them. I'm more of a Nassau there. I'm not really stuff like that. But we have Pam Powers coming back in, and it's just free. And the idea behind this is that, it's just like using the Zoom, kind of like this, and just doing it. And the idea is just want people to do different kinds of things. Last night we had Victoria Otto, who did an amazing restorative yoga, which I'm still sore from. I'm not much of a big yoga guy. I'm not much of a big yoga guy, but that was like something like Zumba. We have Victor Spadaro in a couple weeks, Pilates. So this is the wakelet I've used. I just discovered it. I'm all into application. I'm all into apps now. And on it, you can just see the different videos, and it's great. So it's for adults. So that if you see me getting the word out, or anybody with the Shape P, a hashtag Shape P, that's kind of what that's all about. And it's great because we work on things like this, and we get to be very creative. But I mean, we're representing Shape, but it's also an opportunity to give back. So that's
and this kind of meshes both content that could be delivered for students and also could be self-care kind of content for the educators themselves.
Right. Yeah, and the reason why I say adults only, because some of the songs that they may be used, I know I feel like a fuddy-duddy. If I think one of them is Uptown Funk, and that's not really a song I would use in my gym. But but ultimately, you actually could probably just show these. You can literally show these to maybe you could show them as they are.
Okay.
Because they're done in a way that's like Victoria Otto last night was saying, she was even differentiating as she was doing it. She was like, if you're Bearnese, and I was like, oh, I know my mom was watching, and she said that she is definitely Bearnese. So yeah, you could definitely watch him. He's great. And we wanted to come up with, because I'm sure you probably heard it 1,000 times, what's PE? What's the difference between PE and PA? We kind of got sick and tired of hearing that, to be honest. That we were just like, you know what, let's write the narrative. So while these are mostly focused on physical activity, but I mean, it's purposeful. There's the science behind it. Like you said, even it could be used with students because it talks about breaking it down. Don't do this. Try this instead. Or if this is too hard, do that instead. So there's that differentiation aspect of it that's sometimes gets overlooked, but definitely is very important. So that's one of the things I'm proud that we've actually kind of put together. So and just like I said, and I'm proud of it, but it's free. And the fact that we have people up until August 12th. So that's one thing that we're working on. We're working on other things too, but that's one of the. I would recommend it if you can handle it. I mean, We meet once a month. It's volunteer leadership, but it's really cool because you get to know different people at Shape, and you kind of get to know, gives you a different aspect and a different view on things, I would say. I found it very much worthwhile. Like I said, it's only 3 years. There's different councils. There's physical education, health, there's PA, research, and I always forget the last one. But there's 5. So I would recommend it if you're into that kind of thing. That's one thing that I would definitely like. Like I said, it just gives you a whole new thing because this Shape has been doing a lot of stuff and has been doing a lot of resources. They did the reentry guidelines, which we could probably talk about for 3 hours today. But yeah, so that's one of the aspects of it that I really enjoy.
It's definitely a nice way to get your feet wet, kind of, if you're new to the professional organization, or maybe you haven't been involved in your local professional organization and like to volunteer and learn a little more. Definitely a nice avenue for that.
Yeah, it's been nice because I mean, like I'm now going to give you the platform to go to New York and say, hey, and kind of just it's like you say, you can serve like on your local, but also gives you kind of some idea how things go on at the national level. Like, without Twitter, for example, like I wouldn't even known something like this would have been possible. And I remember in college, and you said we were talking before. You went to Portland and Adelphi. They always say network, network, network. But thank you, Russ. And thank you for participating and showing interest in it. But yeah, it's fun. So that's one of the things. I mean, I'm always talking to them on Twitter. There's definitely a lot of cool stuff coming down the pipe. That, especially the process, they're going to make it really fun, the whole lecturing process. But I could talk about that all night. But so I wanted to share some of the cool things that I know we've been talking about before, but a little interesting twist because I think kind of going back to what we said before, and I think really kind of was a jump off point was that like most of my students in a more restricted settings in terms of where their living spaces. So how do you get them to be active? And how do you do? There's only so many ways you could have a student to do jumbo jacks. But a couple of the things I've kind of found and things that I'm going to show you, or is that kind of what really was made my life easier. We tried to move that and it didn't work. One of these ones I found called Bunsey. Have you guys ever heard of it?
I have not.
Yeah, I haven't either, Jim. But I have. I mean, I remember you tweeted me something about it, and. I did look at it, and it did seem pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's Bunsey is cool because they are very good because they seem to be like this is what like when you make an account. I was just looking because I posted this one on Bunsey about zones of regulation because they did something. They have like summer challenges. They have and I've been doing webinars on that too because I think it's a really awesome resource because. It's unlike it's unique. It's just very fun. Like for me, I feel like I only just scratched the surface of things that I could do with it. And that if you could see over here, like I'll show you the one I made today. Or it works good because you could make your own little Bitmoji classroom. What's great about it is that there's a lot of things like you could use it with Microsoft Teams. You can make classes with it. You could assign it. You can make things for boards, kind of like where you just like leave different. You have students and leave comments. Or even I wanted to leave one right now, and people could make and do comments on it.
Now, Jim, how many students are in your school? And you said your elementary level?
Elementary, pre-K to 5, about almost 600.
And
what 5, 16, 6.
What platform did your school go with? Because I know last week Gus was saying they were doing Flipgrid in his elementary school. I know my wife is totally Google Classrooms.
We use Google Classroom as like our LMS, but I mean we use Flipgrid. But like a lot of these, what came from it, and I've seen Gus's and Kevin's and Chris's work. It's amazing. We've actually run into each other before, like online professional community things because our stuff has been it's been great that we've shared with each other and great we've shared with others. But we use Google Classroom. But the thing about the Google Classroom was that a lot of students were like in the classroom, like they have like Pearson, and it already has like these built-in things where you would and there'd be resources where for math, for science, that they could just literally people, and this is not a critique or anything, this is just what it was. So there wasn't really much for phys ed along those lines. So Flipgrid, it was, so this Buncee and like Flipgrid and like Pear Deck are things that are like, where I want to say add-ons were more kind of like ways to get the content and ways to get lessons across. So the Google Classroom, the kids would come to the Google Classroom and then be like, "What's going on?" So I would see my students 2 days a week. I broke it up into 2 different like blocks, like 40-minute blocks, and I would kind of like make a lesson out of it. And I would use like Flipgrid. I would use So the Buncee was cool because, and here the Ideas Lab is pretty cool because you can go and it's really great because all these different topics, all these different areas, they're always coming out with new ones, especially social emotional learning. These are some cool things you could see, but what's great about it is that this one I enjoyed using a lot because and I'll show you, it's very fun, it's very easy to use. You can even have the students kind of use it as well. It's not just for educational content. It's really good because it has the immersive reader function. You could leave comments. You could even like it. And it's pretty cool. Like if I sent it to everyone listening or with me right now, even you guys, if you have an account, could sign up and just kind of use it right away, which is really cool about it. And it operates where you kind of just leave out content. And so a lot of the lessons I would kind of put the video on them, which was great because sometimes on Google Classroom, I would do like a lesson and then I could just put all the videos here, so the students could refer to them. A lot of times they would click like 5 minutes after I posted an assignment and say done, go back and try again. So this would be a good way so that a lot of them if they just wanted to do the game over and over again, this would be something. But like I said, there's more to it like that, but it's good because you just click on Google Classroom. You could click on a YouTube video and you could just put it. And it's great because you can share it a lot of different ways. You could do the code. You could even do it right to Google Classroom. This one I felt very good because, like I was saying before, it works. It works pretty much with any, like if a student has a Chromebook, an iPad, doesn't matter. It works. It's very compatible with others. And
I know we were talking last week, especially, the Google Classroom is very impersonal. So especially at the elementary level, you want to try and hook those kids in a better, more engaging way. And the younger they are, the more things like this you definitely need to have in your pocket.
Yeah, and this one's cool because, and shout out to Buncee, hopefully they're listening, but they, like every program you've seen on Twitter, everyone's saying, I'm an ambassador. But I mean, like what to be honest, like what, but with Buncee is cool because Buncee actually listens. Buncee's a good company because they actually have some phys ed resources where if you go to edit and you go to create, there's actually some things there already that are actually very good. But they actually they like the idea of the animated GIFs, and that, like this is like if you wanted to do like a Buncee animation, and they actually just added some new ones. They actually just added some new exercise ones.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, so, and then you can see it. You can use it quickly. And you can see, yeah. And it's right there. Of course, now it's on the top of my words, but
yep.
I like
That's cool.
Thank you, yeah. And like I said, I mean, a lot of these, I tend to go to these companies and I tend to talk about them. These are, and I'm not saying, I mean, for whatever works different, but this kind of worked for me because I sometimes have trilingual classes. So it's me speaking French, English, Spanish, and most of the time the kids still look at me like I'm Italian. And I said, yes, I know I'm not. But it's good because, I mean, the immersive reader, if you've never seen, can I just show it? I mean,
Yeah, definitely.
you've probably seen it, but an immersive reader function is great because it will read text aloud. And most of the good apps have it. Like Flipgrid, I know, has it, where it will read. I'm not there's only one now. But like it will read if you click it. If you click it and it's like a write function. You don't have to actually like build it in. It just kind of goes there. It will read it. I have it set to where it talks about what are the different parts of speech, and it will translate it into any language, literally any language. So pick a language.
Spanish.
Spanish. I was gonna say give me something like just like no, but you see, these are all the languages it does. Let's go. Yeah, Spanish. Let's go with Spanish for my mind. And they can toggle back and forth. Oh, I have to hide this part.
Actividades del social, aprendizaje emocional.
And I just thought that was pretty cool, and I thought that'd be pretty fun. It seemed to help because a lot of students.
That's a great tool to have. I personally, in our school, we've been using Seesaw for those younger kids. I don't know if they have that immersive reader option, but definitely something I would like to bring up to our administration to say, we should have something like this to meet the needs of all of our students.
You know what? Then probably one of the one I use like the most, and probably my kids got to. Immersive reader is definitely like a make or break kind of thing because this is like one of my. I love Bunsey. This is like one of my favorites. So much that this is like. So, are you familiar with iReady? Have you heard about iReady?
Yes.
Okay, just making sure. iReady. One of the cool things about iReady is that you could, like, as a teacher, I've used it before. Like, you could actually see the kids doing it. I say kids, but you can see them actually progressing and doing it like right as they're doing it. So this one is called Pear Deck. And like I always say, like, how many times have we seen like those PowerPoint presentations that are just kind of like dry? It's just there. But this is what great of it. It's not even an app. It's like just like for tonight, I downloaded the extension for Chrome. That's what it is. It's a Chrome. It's an extension, and you can see it right over here. It's cool, but you take your Google slide presentation. You could lay out like over here. This is a lesson I did. Towards the end, I wanted to do more like social emotional lessons, and you just kind of add it on. So that makes it very interactive. So as you can see right over here, this is my teacher dashboard. So I can see there's a person on the first slide. And you could do, it's cool because like if I wanted to do like a webinar, which I'm doing on August 1st, small hint, but if I wanted to do this like and have like the whole class, whoever was with us tonight, like progress one by one and make sure you went with, this is actually, I think, going to be very good and very, because if you can't walk around, like one of the things we mentioned, like walking around the room is going to be, how could you monitor? How could you proctor? This is going to be good because you can literally control the pace. So right now it's in student pace. If I wanted to stop that, now all of a sudden everyone's going to go on the screen, or everybody's going to go at the pace that I'm going at as a teacher. And you could leave that as an assignment. What's great about that is that you can see the code. So what I used to do is I would go on Google Meet, and a lot of times the students, I would just kind of give them the link and have them watch and go along with me. And I said, this is the assignment. And I could actually see right over here, oh, right now, even though school's over, I still have 2 out of 25 students right now doing it. This is from my younger grades. And that was a good thing about it. It might have been a little technically difficult, but so that's cool. And what's great about Pear Deck is that like it's all about teaching. Like these are prompts that you can like put in right away. Like, oh, beginning what to talk. So I actually, this had an immersive reader, but I was using it for, this is part of what I started using the most. So a lot of my teachers, actually, I got a chance to, my kids, it worked so well. I actually wound up teaching it to my whole staff because it just was so nice, because it came up one day, I said, why don't we try Pear Deck? And I said, I've been using it. So it made it that much easier, and I'm all for, ease of use, because if all my students were using it, it just made it that much easier for the teachers, for the classrooms users. So that was a big bonus.
So Jim, real quick, I know some people are probably listening. What are the main differences from like Google Slides from Pear Deck? Like what's something Pear Deck does that Google Slides doesn't?
Pear Deck and Google Slides are, the quick thing about Pear Deck is that it's not really one or the other. It's Pear Deck is you can still do a Google Slide. Like right now, I'm in my own dashboard, and these are all my things. These are all the ones I have. What's cool about it is that it takes your Google slide that you have, and it makes it interactive. You lay out some slides for a game. Like we've seen all those, like they said that Tabata. You could take it, you can make a lesson out of that, and you can make an assessment piece out of it. So I gave this, I assigned this when? It looks like some of these I assigned like the last week of school. I can go back now. I could end the session, and it's still the Google slide. You can still use the Google slide, but Heritage just makes it interactive. And actually, you know what? I'm going to show you what I mean. So when you actually have done with the session, you could give takeaways, which you could actually send the students back a copy of their answers, and you could even download a spread. So let me show you what I mean. So it's
Okay.
really an add-on in the sense that it's an add-on in every way. So this is my original, and it's very good because it all saves to your Google Drive. So if you're like, oh no, what was that lesson I wanted to do? What was the thing I was thinking about? I forgot. It's all there. And it's also cool because you can share, like I said, a lot of these, I like these because there's a lot of ease of use. It makes it easy. So like, if someone you said, oh my goodness, I had this great lesson, like a month later, you could send it to me and I could say, boom, I could use it myself. So I could even take any kind of PowerPoint and make a Google Slides and make an interactive out of it. So it just makes it more, and it makes it a learning tool. And then I'll show you, let me show you what makes a little bit more so you can see what I'm talking about rather than just kind of just click. But like I said, it's a great tool. It's an add-on. You just go to, all you have to do is make an account. You go to where it says add-ons when it loads. So these are my Google Slide. This is the presentation. I could send it out, and like Google Classroom will make a copy of it for every student. But with this, it does it all for me. So I go to my Google, my Pear Deck. So I'm happy with everything. Okay. And this is the cool thing where it comes up with this over here with my template. Okay, so if I want to have the if I want the students, if I want to put a video, if I want to put a GIF, or if I want to have the student, if I have the student watch a video on cardiovascular endurance, then I could ask them a question. All you gotta do is click here, and boom, it adds in right away. It's all
Awesome.
done. When it's done, it may not. So right now, it's not. It's still a Google slide, but when you go over here to start lesson, you go there, and it's super easy. So like I was saying before, if I wanted to do this, if I wanted to go do a lesson and do that right with you, and do bowling for everyone, I could either do it instructive case, or I could just kind of put it on Google Classroom and say, okay, cool, this is your assignment for the week, do it. So when you click it, it comes over here. Then when this happens, it will take you, once you get to this screen, it will give you the code for it, and then it's good. Now what's also good about this one is that you don't have to just worry if it works or not, because sometimes students will come to me and say, oh, nothing worked. But you just copy the link. I can send it out in the link in the post chat right now, and everyone has it. And this is your screen. So I can see it right now. I don't have any students on it, but then you see where, do you see where it says waiting for responses?
Yeah.
So like on that first page where it said, this is what the students, and it's cool about, like if I wanted to even just do it with the students, I'll come over here. Like if I even wanted to show the students what it would look like, you get the link, and you could even work from it from there. And what's good about it is every time it starts, it always asks them, how are they doing? I'm great today. I'm happy. I'm talking about Pear Deck. People will say, hopefully.
That's a nice way to get that instant feedback from the students, especially being at home, you know, that social emotional check-ins.
So, yeah. So remember, so like so right now, I know, that's me. I know that I joined. I know that I'm in there right there. So I'm going to show you this. Hold on. So right now it says waiting for responses. I'm going to go, I don't know. It's Jim. And you can see literally, and literally as the teacher, you can see them writing it right away. I thought that was pretty cool.
Can their classmates see that when they write it?
No, you can do it. So so say if I was presenting this, like I could click show responses, and if I wanted others to see, but this is my view. unless you show it out, it doesn't work. You don't have to. This bubble, you see this bubble even feedback. So, how are you?
That's great.
So this is one of my favorites. So much so, I think students towards the end got frustrated. They were like, "Please, no more peer deck." But I mean, so you could do it. This was a very good tool because just it even has to. And over here, it still has the immersive reader. Same thing works. I like Pear Deck because it also is good because it works very well with one thing that I found, like, Chris and Kevin definitely spoke about was, like, and Gus as well, using videos. Like, videos, like, made a huge difference. Like, recording videos, using my own videos, like, this is a good format to do that, and also be able to kind of, like you said, like, to leave it in a format. So this way the student can go across it, boom, look at my lesson point, rolling.
This kind of seems like the next interactive level that kind of Ross spoke about a few weeks ago, how he uses the Google Forms and he can put in, automatic responses kind of when a student would answer it, whether it be correct or incorrect, or you're giving that feedback. And this is like a real-time feedback thing. I do like this extension.
Thank you, yeah.
One question Ross had in the chat, I don't know if this is specifically for Pear Deck or Buncee, but it said Ross would like to see the board marker integration, board maker.
The board, okay, I know what he's talking about. I'm sorry. I just saw that. I'm sorry, Ross, I would have gone.
No problem.
Yeah, but what's also cool about, while that's loading, what's also cool about that was, as I said, Pear Deck also has a speech. You can't see it now, but there's also, you can use speech. You can add audio to slide. You can make it so that, like, when I did my field day, like, I had the card, like from Captain Pete, I would put the card on the left side, and, like, it would be two screen. It would make it so there was, like, dual screen. So, like, it would be a video of me playing, and it would be the game card. And what's great about these, the draggable ones, the drawing is, like, my favorite, where you can have a student draw, like you say, draw a picture of you doing, how do you feel today? Or draw a picture of yourself doing jumping jacks, or draw an exercise that you like. That was, like, one of the more fun. Even my older students loved it. Actually, Ross, because I took his idea for cardio drumming, and I had them do, like, make their own template. So that worked, but, like, beautifully, because they could do text art. So going back to Buncee, all right. So, Buncee's cool because, like, they have, like, different challenges. They try to make it fun, and everything. The whole thing is designed to have it be fun. I forgot to mention a Buncee over here. You can see all the cool. They're very good. Buncee's great because you can see all the things, the notifications of the. So, like, I lit this on Twitter for the summer challenge, and I got 5 reactions. The Ideas Lab is great. You literally can look up anything. But the boards is cool because it's like over here. I wanted to I know Kevin is listening, but I actually kind of he inspired me to make. Remember Dance Dance Revolution back in the day? Yep. That was all the rage.
I still do that in my school. We have, from the Pep Grant days, we bought a big interactive dance pad system, so I can actually have 32 kids all doing dancing at once on my screen. So definitely something to think about too now in this isolation environment, something that is still movement in front of your screen instead of just sitting in front of your screen.
Well, actually, when Kevin did his Guitar Hero, I was thinking about this. I was like, wait, like, my students probably don't have the technology at home, but, like, I kind of just same idea. So the boards are good because, like, you can share it. It's almost kind of like instead of just being a one slide Buncee, you could kind of just leave it for, like, post it for, like, the whole grade, and you make the quiz, like, how do you make exercises easier or harder? Write your name and comment. So the student can comment. The video you put up, that was great. Comment. See. So and they could leave comments on it. So, and what's cool about it is that it's very good for data keeping. So I can very easily just like, wow, I got 29 views. I could even add. So if I made a Buncee or if I made an assignment, what's also great about it is that a lot of these like Buncee, Parodic, Flipgrid, Wakelet are all very compatible with each other. So if you're like, well, I like this one thing that Parodic did, or they're all good because you can kind of just, So the Parodic, this one is good because I can see that I have 5 comments. I can have students comment. I can make the questions. I know it's 29 views. Okay, I can add a Buncee to it. So I think I liked it before. Oh, anyway. So I just like, one. But like if you're like you could like have them link to the whole Buncee that you were referring to, so they could be like, wait, what the world is he talking about? Oh, there it is. I also like Buncee because one of my favorite things, the Shadow Sports games from Open Phys Ed. I love that. So I'm an old school gamer kind of guy. So I took Mega Man. So I made my own little thing. I took all the videos and I kind of put them so you could see it. So that we were talking about the overload intro, making intro exercises, and I talked about it. Video on NFL. I like to borrow from the resources. So that's a good thing about the board. So you can kind of make it almost kind of like a summative, or like a summative kind of like, or just kind of like a Flipgrid kind of thing where they have the students react to or respond to, and they kind of look at resources that they've seen, or kind of extend thinking.
I do like the ability to react to your lesson. I think, a lot of schools are probably nervous these days and, using that reaction or that like or that love feature because of the social emotional complexes giving to users and students that maybe see something's not liked as much, but for the students to just give that feedback back to you and you be able to say, out of my 29 views, 15 really loved it. That's, a nice way to have a little bit extra data for yourself and for your administration.
Well, and one of the things I really want to bestow, and I'm hoping that, but the lessons, I mean, you can make the lesson rich or hard. I loved a lot of Tabata. My computer's acting up on its own. The thing that's bouncing, if you can see it on the phone, is actually Loom, which is a screen recording software. I wasn't planning on mentioning it, but I guess we wanted to, a screen recording software. So like I would use one of those to make tutorials and like how-to videos with my YouTube channel. But like you were saying, like that data is important because how many times would I, like as a physics teacher, for my group, it was difficult. Like I had all the kids, and if I were to do an assignment, some of them will come online, some of them wouldn't. Like how would I be able to keep tabs, and how would I be able to keep track? Especially if a student and just like I know it happens in so many people where they would click submit and there'd be no work. And a lot of times it was because they couldn't access it. So something like these made it so that they could. So all they need to do is click the link, use their code, use their email, and sign up. And giving timely feedback. I mean, because we're kind of helping. It's pretty much, I know for me in my experience, that a lot of it was just kind of like, I kind of sought this out on my own because I wanted to make my life easy for myself. And this was great because it had all those features to do data and to do, especially the immersive reader function, which is right there, and the text, and the option to add audio. And honestly, at the end of the day, if someone did that to me, like, what am I doing? As a physics teacher, like, how are you doing homework? Not only do I have the quantitative, I won't those two up, but not only do I have the data where later on, as I was showing over here, I could go down and say, okay, cool, I have one student, and I could show them all the response, like it's all there for me. It made it so like I could justify, and I could just kind of like, in a time for advocacy now, I could say, this is the impact I was having. And well, the great about thing is that the students really like to do it. I've tried other things. I really kind of just tried things that, I've tried a bunch of things. But these are the things that the students actually really like consistently. And like the function to be able to add that, leave feedback, and use this as I was teaching, like that made my life, like I said, it was all about making life easy. That's what I just want that to be happen because I want to make everyone's life easy. Yeah, special needs students use the language. I think anybody uses it. I mean, it's a lot of times like if the student is just accessing it, and the student, how many times have, honest, if I would ask anybody right now, it's poll, how many times have you gotten the student submitting work at like 11 o'clock at night?
Must be mom or dad if that's the case.
Who knows? Who knows? I mean, honestly, but like, who knows? But like, it's a lot of these features, like, it's kind of like, and I don't want to say it's, but it was kind of motivational, and it's cool to find these kinds of things where, you know, I mean, a lot of that, I mean, like I said, that could be a whole other discussion of PA versus PA, but like this was like gave me an opportunity to control and do what I wanted to do, what I thought was right. And these were tools that made, like I said, not only just made my life easy, but was, like I said, was able to, you know, do different like bowling at home or using great things like Shape what Open had, and being able to use kind of the same idea, like being able to teach, so to speak, teach jumping jacks more than once, do Tabata, and just was able to make it interesting. Using a lot of Lynn Hatel's videos. I probably used it 1 week for like 8 straight weeks. I used a different video each week as part of the lesson. And that was the academic piece of it. And I put some activities in practice, and boom, I know lesson. And my principal actually did tell you that, like, if you might be thinking of like, you know, or we probably fool himself, but like that was like cutting edge. Like my principal said to me, she was like, "I'm proud of you," and I said, "Cool." Like I said, like, I mean, I was like, this was Pear Deck. A lot of people were in kind of, everyone's in the same boat where it's like, what's going on? And it gave me a chance to say to, like, you know what, I'm a teacher. I'm using these teaching strategies. So just an advocacy piece I want you to be aware of. But
I think that's really what it's going to come down to now, especially in New York State. We've had a big push for advocacy over the last few weeks as our governor begins to make his decisions on what he's going to do for schools in the next few weeks. But really to get that recognition from a principal who probably doesn't have that technological experience herself. And that's the person leading your ship, and you're able to provide that for your students and really get them engaged in that way, the way other teachers couldn't. So it really shows the expertise and the ability to be malleable for the phys ed staff that we have pretty much around the country. And it's definitely anybody who's been involved in this show, you know, to be able to be that advocate and be the expert on any of these really puts phys ed in a great spot in your local schools, which is what we need now.
Yeah, no, and well said. Like, I mean, like all across the country, it worked. It was my personal accolades, but like being able to say to one, being able to be, I mean, that's also just who I am. I'm not the kind of physics teacher. I like to be very present. I find that the advocacy side of it, that being able to understand or kind of try to work with as much as the classroom teachers as much as possible, if you know what I mean. That always is like just turning to an advocacy piece. But no, just things like that I just find are like if you're able to, it just makes you more valuable. It just kind of gives you a leg up, because it's like, we're not just phys ed, we are phys ed teachers. So that, I think that goes a long way, and that's what we need a lot of at that point.
Now, thinking a little bit forward to September, I know the New York City put out their results of their student and teacher surveys, I think, just recently, and you got some feedback as far as, you know, 69% of the students really want to see phys ed, art, and music in the school building.
Yeah.
So that is a great number and a great turnout from the parents and the students. But it's really going to take innovation like this to show the value of it, and then be able to pivot on a dime, whether it be, I might see the student in school once every 2 weeks, but they need to do 4 or 5 lessons out of school. And then you're able to do that, no problem.
You know, one thing Pear Deck reminds me of is kind of like a similar version of Edpuzzle, but without a video. Whereas you could ask questions at any time, you could ask a prompt, have the video stopped at any time, whereas Pear Deck within like a slideshow, you could add a slide and ask a question instead.
Exactly, yeah. So
that's pretty cool.
Thank you. I've heard of Edpuzzle, but I like it. But yeah, like it's the same thing where you don't necessarily, and like you were just saying, like you don't necessarily have to be there. It also encourages a lot of student independence. We're talking about physical literacy. Like, what better than to have students where you have them watch the video, like especially on like the content like cardiovascular endurance, and then you have the students do exercise, and then by the way, and hit them up with like a Flipgrid and say, what did you like the most? and I remember you said about Google Forms. I used the Google Form to make like an activity log, and the number one thing the kids wanted was more videos that made for me. And one of the coolest things was one of my students was like, "Can we get this or that Tabata?" Like the Tabata that I'm sure on Becky Fulmer's site, which is great. I can't say that I came up with the idea, but that like something like having the kids pick and choose what they want to do, like that's like the ultimate goal. That's honestly like when the student said it to me, I was like, cool, okay, thank you.
Yeah, anytime you have students asking for more, and I think that's really the biggest thing is, the content everyone creates out there on Twitter is fantastic, but then for you to, even if you're just recreating it yourself with your face, your voice behind it, obviously it's all standards based what people are putting out, and why remake the wheel if we don't have to? Good stuff is good stuff. But then to put your face behind it really gets the students engaged, because they, at the elementary level, they want to see you play, and when you're playing, they're more engaged.
Right.
So if you put in that effort at home, and then, they're more willing to try it at that level of effort in their own settings. And I think that's something that, really you touched on a little bit before, but what do students, not only resources and equipment do they have access to at home, but how much space do they have? Some kids may only have, a 10 by 10 living room to do a job in a apartment complex, as opposed to others who may have an acre or two. So really to give students that choice and that option of what activity to participate in at varying levels and varying equipment and resource availability is another huge key going into the future.
I took. You guys pretty much did everything I wanted to. Thank you. I got the thank you for doing coming. I know it's cool. That is it's what's cool about this is that there's a lot of these companies have trial periods, whatever. A lot of them, even the free versions of it are still pretty awesome. Like Flipgrid right now, if you can see on my screen. I used at first I was like, you know what? I used to be a Flipgrid hater. I'll say it, but because at first I was just kind of like, but then when I started really getting into it, like remote learning, I was like, oh my goodness, this is the best thing ever. And you actually see my screen, 2 days of shared learning. All right, I didn't even notice it before. No, but Flipgrid is really good because a lot of these they're like I said, there's all. It's great because everyone's kind of coming together for the common good. So Bunsey works with Pear Deck and Bunsey works with Flipgrid, and all these work together. So in Pear Deck, when I said before, you can use an Ed puzzle probably. Bunsey I know works in Flipgrid. They all work together. And what is it? So yeah, Flipgrid definitely works well. I love Flipgrid. As you can see over here, these are some of my stats. I'm just reading it. I know probably learn a lot about Flipgrid, but I used to like the social emotional mostly. I even let the message or some of my kids to do with each other. I won't scroll down now because for the sake of student, I'm not a man to be. I said it right. But I can't really get enough of that. I love Flipgrid. Flipgrid I found works really well with talk about the extended thinking where social emotional. I would do weekly check-ins in the Disco Library. I know that they've just come up with a bunch of new things in Flipgrid. Maybe worth talking about. They just had a whole new thing about. I enjoy personally using it for I'll talk about it in a second, but I enjoy personally using it as an extension of thinking. And it was good because a lot of my students, especially for field day, would say, "What was your favorite field day game?" And it just also gives. I think it's choice. I think we've said it probably the same way 14 different times, but choice is the most important thing. Have you guys heard of Epic Books?
I have not.
No, I haven't either.
Oh. So a lot of this. So my wife is a special ed teacher. My mother-in-law is a pre-K teacher. My mother was in middle school, but my sister-in-law is a teacher. So I kind of know about some different resources. So Epic is a good one because it's like ReadWorks, but it's a book website. But what's great about it is that let me see, and you can see even here that it connects to Flipgrid. But you basically can. It's free right now, but you can basically create it, and you can assign students books. Oh my goodness, books! But what's about it? And going back to, what is it? I had it before. One of the lessons, some of the books they have are really, really actually good. Let me go back to my bunch because I actually recorded a video of it because I couldn't put it. But some of the lessons are like really, really good. Oh, and you could pick like the different level, and of course everything it kind of tells you your stats. Oh, I had some, and it's one of those things that it makes your life. And I say it makes your life easy because if the students are using it in the classroom, chances are it just they already know how to do it. So like you said, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. So what's great about this one is that like I made a video of it, and this is one of the books. It's about fairness in sports. And
Fairness in sports.
oh, that was me. So for my other students, I didn't really kind of read it, but so it talks about fairness, and there's different a lot of the books, and these are fourth and fifth grade. A lot of these students will know it. Has videos in it too. Well, my videos learning, but it talks about fairness and it gives good examples, and I think a good website because it's books that kids actually want to read about. It also has like video if you wanted to. If a kid likes soccer, there's videos on how to do soccer drills. I'm not sure how that does it through books, but that's a great website I recommend. So it has like lots of good books, and the books it has like some really excellent books on like the parts of health-related fitness.
And that's
Awesome.
called Epic Books?
It's Epic Books, yes.
Okay.
Epic Books.
I like that, especially to, that cross-curricular ELA connection. If you can assign something like that, it really expands your reach out of the phys ed realm.
And you'd be surprised if you're like, I'm saying that the great thing about all this stuff is that like if you try it out and you're like, you know what, it's not for me, awesome. But just like part of the reason why I enjoy something doing that is because that gives me a chance because like, oh, so Epic, this is Epic actually. So like it's the same thing. You give the kids a code, and I don't want to do it because I don't want to. But like even if you just do your Google login, you can even do your other, and it kind of just. And there's different. You do your class code. You give the kids a class code, and they kind of log in. And you could just see all kinds of different books, and they could kind of. You could assign books for them to do, and believe it or not, like it's actually kind of a nice change of pace because I think a lot of students got to the point where they just like, okay, they knew the routine so much, and they kind of knew that it wasn't just going to be like random exercise. So this was just kind of like an extra add-on. I don't remember my education. Yeah, but that's basically it's if you're familiar with like Storyworks or Scholastic, they could pick and choose books and they could look. It's in that vein. I recommend it. Epic Books, that's the website.
Ross mentioned in the comments that Brian Pear Deck and Nearpod are very similar in that respect. I don't know Nearpod, but definitely to look into that.
Nearpod is actually very, very similar. It's actually very similar. I actually tried Nearpod. Actually, you know what? If you let me, and I don't want to have too many. I actually tried Nearpod too. And I could actually show you the difference. I preferred Pear Deck just because Pear Deck and it's okay. So Nearpod is the same thing where you can have this is your it works on top of Google Slides, but Nearpod is also its own kind of like format dashboard where you have your reports. It works in the same way that if I did the speed and fitness lesson, I could do a live lesson, I could do student case, I could preview it. I could do the same thing where I could also. Could you guys see my Nearpod where it says Nearpod?
Yes.
Okay, I'm not sure. How many times where I'd be live with students and it wouldn't work and they'd be like, "What are you referring to, Mr. Hambel?" So you could give them the code. It's kind of the same one where you could do different things. You could do teaching points. You could also look it down. I don't want to go too much in it because I don't want to see student anonymity. Can't be saying wrong, but it's the same thing. But my students, I kept getting a lot of critiques saying that it was. Nearpod, it might work for you, it might be different, but a lot of my students, especially in the draw feature, They said that like the space on their screen was just too small with Nearpod. They preferred Pear Deck, just because I guess it was a little bit more. It felt a little more free. So this is what a pair. This is Nearpod. This is Pear Deck. It's a Nearpod.
Looks very similar.
They are
Both
very
seem-
similar.
Yeah.
Yeah, they operate. I mean, like I said, they are. Nearpod just has one or two more features. Like maybe you could resume it later if you want to leave it there. I don't know if I want to say it has any more features. I just think it's a little different. Nearpod has some more. Value. They have a little less than library. But like I said, I didn't really find anything specific to phys ed. Like I said, these are so when any questions, very much the same. I just think maybe my students were more used to Pear Deck. They preferred it. Like I said, I don't want to critique. That's the only thing I could really say about Nearpod is this is my students. These are all my lessons that I made. You could have reports, you have teacher resources, definitely the same thing. It has the Buncee, where if you want to make like a collaborate kind of thing, you have that feature. Like I said, mine preferred Pear Deck. Also, I just like Pear Deck because in Nearpod for me, I would have to go. I couldn't quite get the link to work. It also works as an add-on on Google Slides, but you would have to create your own lesson in Nearpod. And I just like for Pear Deck, you would just go here, boom. Ooh, I want to add some prompts. Cool. It was a lot more easy. Like it was just time.
Awesome. Well,
So-
Jim, I want to thank you so much for coming on with us tonight, and really just any ideas you want to leave everybody with, whether it be Shape America ideas, advocation ideas, or anything going forward, that would be awesome. And thank you again for sharing.
Thank you guys for having me, and thank you for giving me a chance to share and ramble on about some things that I've tried and worked out pretty well. Just whether you're on Twitter, whether you're just keep an eye on what Shape is doing. If you're interested in my information's somewhere, I could put it. You guys can share it out on my Twitter, my email. I'll be more than happy to. If you're interested in doing the volunteer leader thing, I know that is actually not coming up. It's coming up in a month or two. But I was just trying to just be a good advocate, and hopefully, whether you use these tools, you use one of them or one aspect of them, hopefully you get something out of it. Come to our weekly workouts. So basically, keep trying to do things that kind of just prove and cement that we're worthwhile, we're teachers, and that we are amazing and awesome. And also, when you need a break from that, you can join us for our wellness series. Next week we have Daniela Ryu and Amanda Stallone. And once again, thank you guys for having me tonight.
Yeah, thank you, Jim. Thanks for being willing to come on with us.
Thank you guys.
Thank you. And thank you, Rich. And once again, this is our 13th episode of this. Couldn't have been possible without Rich and all of our guests. Feel free to look back into any of our past episodes. If anybody listening to this in the future wants professional development hours, Rich is more than happy to present a certificate of attendance for you listening. Obviously, Rich can see that on the YouTube end of things. Just have to shoot him an email and he'll get you that official certificate. Maybe it will work for your scenario in school. Maybe it won't. Just trying to give options out there for people. And also, we're hoping to do this again come the start of the year, definitely towards the end of August. We're going to pick back up with live guests and getting back into more of like what Brian shared today, your own unique circumstances and situations for what it's really going to mean to teach phys ed in this new time. So thank you.
Hey, Chris, I just wanted to say, just to add that I've really been inspired by the teachers that we've had on all the broadcasts. And it really is inspiring to see the quality of teachers that are working with the students today. Speaking from Heart Plus, going forward in the fall, we want to be part of your solution. And so we're working hard to make that goal come to fruition. So please keep in touch with us. Let us know what we can do to help you going forward next year and there's difficult challenges, and but we have a great team that behind us, and we're hoping to be, as I said, part of the solution.
And Doug, thank you for commenting that in the chat. Myself and the 5-star team, as well as Brian and his brother Brad, are very well versed in the grant process. Of course, the guests we had on last week, Mr. E, Kevin Lau, and Gus, they all did local grants, whether it be PTA fundraising or local phys ed fundraisers, to get money in these desperate times for things that you will need going into the future. Also be on the lookout for ESSA funding and hopefully anything that comes from our CARES Act. That really should be money there to support the future needs of remote learning and the future needs of technology in the school and outside of the school. So phys ed definitely needs to be part of that discussion. And I think now more than ever, Shape America has put out really the tools and the research we need to back ourselves up and be able to present what we do to our administrators, to our boards of education, to show our significance. And then I think really that research and data that Shape is putting out, we need to, as physical educators, be able to back with our past practices in the gymnasium. And then, of course, we have a little bit of a window into the remote learning scenario, so we could always talk about our engagements in remote learning. But definitely, I know myself, my engagements were more robust and more meaningful in the gymnasium. So I want to share, how we can use the technology to build on what we do every day in the gym and not to replace the gym. So that is, one of my big sticking points too going forward is we need to really be proactive with that, and all forms of data help, and objective data is the best way to do it, and really getting those student emotions back, whether it be any way in an affective domain, is going to be huge, because we need to show that students really aren't happy staying at home all day, every day, and they're probably not going to be happy staying in one classroom all day, every day. They want that socialization. So how do we balance their needs and their health and safety in order to get them back to, a mental state that really is beneficial to them? Because I think right now we're going to go back to a scenario where everybody's beaten down and has been overworked and felt that, coming into a scenario where everyone's wearing masks and getting temperatures checked, never on the face of the earth has that happened every day in a school building. So that's going to be a culture shock in itself. So we really need to keep positive and providing our students as many resources to stay healthy and active as we can.
Brian,
Thank you,
final
guys.
word.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Good night. It was a pleasure as always.
Okay, take care now, guys. Be safe.
Have a good night, guys. Thank you.